gonna ride a train. Not a current one. Again, we are back in time. We're back into the, I would say, early 20s. I'm getting a head shake here.
No, some of the exhibits here go back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, such as the Wright Brothers bicycle shop, Thomas Edison's Menlo Park lab was moved here.
Happy Thursday morning. I am off on yet another adventure. I'm headed to Detroit today. So I'm going to take you with me. I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite places. Excuse me. I'm going to show you some of the inspiration pieces that I've used in some of my books. So no book trip. This is purely for enjoyment. My husband's family lives in Detroit. The entire big Greek family. Yes, it's true. I am Eon Miller. It's true. All right, so we've got a plane to catch. So let's go. All right, so I have parked the truck. I'm taking my husband's truck this trip because my husband has my truck, has my car in Detroit. So, all right, let's do this. Let's get on our plane. We have our little carry-on, and that's all we're taking because the rest of our stuff is already in Detroit. Come on. It's really hot, so let's go somewhere cooler. All right, so we made it through TSA. My travel advice, get the TSA pre-check. The line was long, but moved like super fast. So if you are an avid traveler, or even if you travel just like maybe 3 times a year on an airplane, get it. It's less than $100. So worth not standing in line, taking off your shoes, taking off a jacket, all the things. So made it to the plane. I'm very excited about seeing a big Greek family. So 2 hours to Detroit. So first official day in Detroit, and we're kind of going out on our own. But I have to share this story with you. So the mall we're at is called Somerset, but I could never remember that term. So anytime I tell Patrick that I want to go to the mall, I always tell him that I want to go to the Spinny Ball Mall because it spins. So we're gonna go, drop some money in the local economy. Good morning, everyone. This is the lake, Sylvan Lake. It's north of Detroit, but this is the lake that one member of my family lives on, and that's where we're staying. We stay different families' homes when we're here, but this is the lake. It's quite chilly. It's quite chilly to me. I'm used to, at my house rather, it's 100 degrees. And so I am literally ready to put on a jacket, but I just want to let you see how peaceful it is here. Just absolutely calm and quiet and cold. Let's not forget cold. I don't know if you guys can see this, but you got to see this guy. See him? This is like a hoverboard. Isn't that cool? All right, so we have plans today. We're going a couple of places. Henry Ford Museum. The name needs no introduction. If you've driven down the road and saw Ford, Henry Ford. I'm also going to show you several of the places in Detroit that I reference in books. And yeah, so here's to enjoying just a little bit of peace. All right, so we're in downtown Detroit, and sorry, I'm being real careful because I'm just very careful. I'm in downtown Detroit. Anyway, So, in my book, Buried Secrets, there's a couple places that I talk about. One of them is right behind me, Mercury Bar, which we are fixing to go in there. The second one that I talk about, and I'm going to pan slowly so that I don't make you sick, is the train station. These are real. These are absolutely real. Now, of course, the building that Drew is in doesn't exist, but I imagined it to be somewhere around here. But yeah, so real life, train station is real. Mercury Bar, and I'm gonna take you in there because we're gonna eat real quick because it's phenomenal. All right, let's do this. So here's the inside of Mercury Bar. I want to also let you know that there are several other books that are coming out that reference this restaurant. I absolutely love this place. The burgers are absolutely phenomenal, and it's interesting that you get a thumbs up from the man himself. In case you want to check it out, here's where it's located. And in the book, Drew has the big fight. This is where I pictured that fight. All right, so Mercury Bar is literally across the street from the train station. I'm going to turn around so you can see the train station. Okay, so the last time I was here, and it's been several years ago, this station changed hands. Now, of course, in my book, it changed hands to Drew. Totally made up. He did not buy it. But yeah, it's been totally renovated. It's also the site of one of the Batman movies, or maybe it's Superman. I gotta get back to you on that one. But anyway, we're gonna see if we can go in the lobby. Don't know if we can or not, but we're gonna see. Unfortunately, the lobby was closed, so I couldn't get you guys a look-see inside the lobby. Down the street from the train station is the Renaissance building. We did take a little tour inside there. I didn't get pictures of it, but this is me outside the Renaissance building. And this is outside of Canada. It's literally across the river. And this is Joe Louis's arm. He was a famous boxer. Well, good morning. Today we traveled south from where our relatives are to the Henry Ford Museum. I don't think any of you need to be introduced to who Henry Ford is. In case you've been under a rock for the last however many years, Henry Ford is the creator of Ford Motor Company. He created a village. Village is a loose term, really. We're going to go back in time, so to speak, we're going to do a Model T, which, for those of you, again, who are living under that rock, a Model T was the original car. There was no air conditioning, none of the bells and whistles that we take for granted today. However, we're also going to ride a train. Not a current one. Again, we are back in time. We're back into the, I would say, early 20s. I'm getting a head shake here.
No, some of the exhibits here go back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, such as the Wright brothers bicycle shop, Thomas Edison's Menlo Park lab was moved here. Part of the Firestone family, who was really close with Henry Ford because of the automobile and tires. So there's actually a real working farm here. The train is a real working steam locomotive. The Model T is as original as it can be. So yes, we're going to take a big step back in time. If you ever get a chance, it's called Greenfield Village. It's right next to the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn. And you can bring your kids. There's plenty of activities for them to do. There's a big playground as well. So if you really want to see some history and learn a few things, I highly recommend it.
And I have my own personal tour guide, so here we go. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. A Model T. We're fixing to get in one of those and take us a little ride. Wow.
You guys have been in the Model Ts before?
I have. She's never been.
I've never been.
Okay, very few automobiles in the world. Most of them are so expensive that it's more of a wealthy person's toy or leisure activity. And affordable vehicles, for lack of a better word, were pieces of junk. They weren't reliable. That would have been our transportation right there.
Oh,
Humans had been using horses for centuries. We understood horses. We trusted our horses. Henry Ford is going to change our mind. And it starts downtown Detroit on Manhattan Avenue in 1903. And he built the original Model 8. I'm glad I didn't have to learn to ride a bike like that. Henry Ford sold approximately 1,700 Model 8s in 03 and 04. And most of his customers then would have been still well-to-do. I think the first two he sold were the doctors. And then he sold enough of those. And if you like automotive history, it's this next plant. It's a museum today where all the magic takes place. He does an original Model B, a Model C, a Model F, a Model K, a Model N, a Model R, a Model S. And finally, in the fall of 1908, the Model T, the car that's going to change the world. The reason this is the vehicle that checks off all the boxes, it was fairly affordable at $850. More importantly, it's durable, it's reliable, it's easy to operate. Very important to Henry. It's got a 10-gallon gas tank, 20 miles to the gallon, 200 miles on one tank of gas.
wow.
That freedom and mobility had never existed before throughout human history. This becomes the vehicle that's going to replace the horse. And literally, where some people actually rode their horses to the Ford dealer and wanted the horse rate for a Model T. Henry had a problem at the cat. He couldn't make enough to meet demand. So in 1910, he built the biggest enough factory in the world that he's only going to build one car there. Fall of 1913 for the 1914 model year, the same model year that you're in today, Henry Ford's going to have another first. He's the first auto manufacturer to completely produce an automobile via moving assembly line. And that's going to be a game changer. Instead of taking all day to build one every 93 minutes, instead of building several thousand per year, it becomes several 100,000 per year. And the price is going to drop immediately from $850 to $500. But Henry did three things in 1914 that truly shaped the world that we live in today. When the assembly line is up and running in Highland Park, he doesn't lock his factory down. His factory is open to newspaper writers and engineers from all over the world. So mass production as we know it is truly born. But he does two other things in 1914. That's the same year he starts paying his workers $5 a day, which was an absurd amount of money back then. And Henry Ford introduces the 40-hour work week. 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. Workers ever since the Industrial Revolution have been fighting for better pay and better working hours, but Henry Ford was the one that gave it. So 1914 is a very important year. And when I tell you the Model T is the car that changed the world, within 20 years, we went from a world that had several 100,000 vehicles in it to a world that had over 20 million vehicles. Over 15 million of those were Model Ts. Over half the cars in the world at one time were Model Ts. And that truly changed the world that we live in today. And that love affair truly is never ended. We're going to build an infrastructure that's going to support the automobile. The first thing are going to be the roads that are made. The Model T was actually designed for dirt roads. The next vehicle the Ford Motor Company is going to design will be designed for paving. So we build the infrastructure. We start paving roads, building bridges, building tunnels. In 1908, there's no such thing as a gas station. And Why would there be? You could buy gas. It was an inexpensive byproduct of petroleum. And if you get a chance, ride the bus today. 1931 Model A bus. You could buy gas. You have to go in a hardware store or a drugstore to buy your gasoline. And you don't mind doing it. So we park, we go in the store, we have to get out. The gas tank is underneath this cushion here. We have to get out of the vehicle, go buy our gas, put the gas in, and away we go. And we don't mind doing it because we appreciate this freedom and mobility so much. You guys ever go on road trips?
Oh yeah.
The things that we take for granted, none of it exists back then.
While the Model T was amazing, it was time for us to head to the next stop, which was Thomas Edison's lab. I just can't even describe how absolutely amazing it was to see them take literally nothing and make it into something. And this is Thomas Edison's powerhouse, so to speak. Thomas Edison, for those of you who don't know, invented the light bulb. Lord Jesus. Handsome husband. Again.
Okay, so this is Thomas Edison's machine shop. Moved from Menlo Park, New Jersey. Back then they didn't have, electricity was a very new thing, and they were just starting to play with it and create the light bulb. So they didn't have electric motors on their machine shop. So what they do is, way on the other side, there's a boiler that creates steam for a steam engine. And turn that big flywheel in there, turning a belt, which would in turn turn all these belts. And these belts there's it's not really a drill press, it's a milling machine. You've got lathes, various tools, and that's how they powered everything, was off one boiler with belts going everywhere. And you can see, safety wasn't a big concern back then because none of these have any kind of guarding on them.
93 patents. So the major ones of that 400 are the tinfoil photograph, which you'll see down when you get down to the end of the thing. First, recorded and playback sound. The electric lighting system that that he is so famous for. It's not the light bulb. He didn't invent that. That had been invented, but it didn't work very well. It wouldn't stay. He made a practical one that would stay open.
And this is the man with the plan, much younger version. I mean, who wants to have an old picture of themselves? Certainly not me.
Workers worked full-time between the years of 1876 to 1882. Full-time for Thomas. Middle of the room just looks like an average chair, but it's in the middle of the room. Why are we keeping a chair in the middle of the room, especially over something that looks like a trap door? Well, the biggest thing is the fact that Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and President Hoover was up in this room on October 21st, 1929. It was the 50th anniversary of the incandescent light bulb. And of course, Thomas Edison, he's 82 years old at this time. And he just needs a place to sit down because you're going to recreate a light bulb for the 50th anniversary. And so, of course, they take a chair, move it to that spot, and Thomas Edison sits down in it. They recreate the light bulb right there on that Mercury vacuum pump. And then, after they were done, Thomas Edison gets up from the chair and goes back downstairs. You think they would move the chair back, but no. Henry Ford tells his workers to nail that chair to the floor, for that chair is never ever going to move again. And so, of course, they nailed the chair to the floor. He pays the bills. Nailed the chair to the floor, and that chair has not moved 1 inch since October 21st, 1929. That is 94 years ago. So much so that we've replaced this floor 4 times, and we've always just worked around the chair. And there you go. We have it. And Helen Keller also got us it.
Okay, so underneath where he's sitting is a firebox, and that heats up hot water to steam. The steam stays in the boiler, and then it's fed down through a system of valves through here, goes down to this piston. When the steam is opened and closed, it then drives the wheels. And that's when you see the steam exit. See how it's exiting out? When every time you hear chug, chug, steam coming out, that is just driving the piston, turning the wheels. That's how a steam engine works.
And that's the end of our trip, y'all. I always enjoy Detroit when I go. Again, we were there primarily to see family, but I really wanted to give you an insight as to the inspirations behind my books. If you ever get a chance, go to Detroit. You'll love it.